You're listening to the Horror Spot Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Horror Spot Podcast. I'm Blake.
And I'm Nick. And if you haven't checked out our last episode, you can check that out in the link below. And who else do we got here with us?
Dan.
Nice. Great intro. Good job.
Well, I mean, you caught me off guard with the whole if you haven't checked out the last episode. Like, wait until after everybody
Yeah, it was like
introduces
Mike in your
themselves.
face.
Sir, what do you think about this?
Yeah. All right, so what are we doing today?
Well, in this very special episode of Horror Spot Podcast, we are talking about the one, the only David Gordon Green's Halloween 2018.
Now, it's going to be a little different this time. We're not going to go too in-depth until it comes out on Blu-ray or DVD or VOD or whatever. So, pretty much we're just going to be talking about what we did and did not like. And if you don't want any spoilers, then get the fuck out of here right now.
Yeah, definitely. This episode is going to be full of spoilers. So like Nick said, if you haven't seen 2018's Halloween yet and you don't want to have it spoiled for you, go ahead and stop listening right now and then come back after you've seen it. Otherwise, you've been warned.
They are not subtle spoilers. They're so crazy. Dan, what'd you think of the movie?
I give it a 6.5 out of 10. I mean, it was on par with the second one. And
Yeah,
shit,
so that was my main thing with it was
Yeah.
it wasn't trying to outdo the original. It was a good, like, faithful sequel. That's what I really appreciated about it.
yeah, which is why I rated it so high. They kept it true to the story if one had just left off and two was never a thing.
Yeah, I mean,
They just followed a logical progression of events.
one of the main things I really hope is that there's an extended version at some point, because it felt like scenes were cut short, like a lot of the time. And I remember seeing something about how David Gordon Green got a voice actor to do Loomis, and we talked about this in a previous episode, but there was no leaving off. Like, it didn't leave off like it said it was going to.
Right. So from what I understand, David Gordon Green had an original vision for redoing the ending of Halloween 1, or 1978's Halloween, where Michael Myers actually kills Dr. Loomis. But John Carpenter, bless his soul, talked him out of it because it would be doing a disservice to not only the original Halloween, but Donald Pleasance as well. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that they didn't go with that, but I would have liked to have seen it pick up where the original Halloween left off.
Yeah, I was actually looking forward to that. I wanted to see, first of all, Will Patton, is that the guy that played the sheriff?
Yep.
I'm just gonna say it now. He was the worst part of the movie. He's not a good actor. I hated his character. I hated it. You know, like, the first time I saw it, Blake, I don't know if you have Chunkies where you are.
Probably not.
No.
Okay, so
Chunkies.
Chunkies is a movie theater. If you're in New England, it's a movie theater where it's a crossover between a theater and a restaurant. So you're at a table in the theater and they serve you beer and food and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
So
Fantastic.
So
Fantastic.
I was a pitcher of beer in, okay, the first time I watched it. So the main reason and a little more after that too. But the main reason I went to go see it the second time, obviously besides seeing it a second time, was to really fill in the gaps. And the second time I went to go see it, you know the scene where I prayed he would break out, and why the hell did you do that? So I could kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, the sheriff goes, well, that was pretty dumb. Like, his line was... Yeah, that was a dumb thing to pray for. The audience laughed. Everyone in the theater laughed at him. I was like, oh, God.
Yeah,
Patton,
the second, like the time you went to go watch it the second time.
Yeah.
Because they didn't laugh the first one.
No, yeah, that's what I said. When I went to go see it the second time, they laughed in the theater.
Yeah. So I will tell you, when the first time, I've seen it 3 times now. Yeah. The first time I saw it, I really had high expectations for this movie. And I'm not going to lie, I was kind of let down. It seemed really rushed. Like you said, a lot of the scenes seemed really cut short.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe I was just expecting a little bit more, but the subsequent 2 other times I went and saw this, I found myself liking it a little bit more. But I can tell you one of the most solid things that I think that this movie brings is a return to the Shape.
Yeah.
Not just Michael Myers, serial killer, but the return of the Shape.
See, some of my sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but some of my favorite parts of the movies where it was just still shots of Michael just standing there looking. Like by far the best parts of the movie every single time.
Absolutely, like that whole motion sensor backyard scene,
Yeah.
with that really stupid kid, where he just gets closer and closer and closer. That was legitimately fucking cool.
Or
that
I
is
think
the
my
Shape, right?
favorite one was when Michael finally figures out that Laurie's underneath the floor and he's just standing there and like he's in the shadow halfway and there's light casting on one side of his face. Like that image like really reminded me of 78 Michael.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they brought back, the thing that started this all, right? I mean, like a force of nature. He is literally the evil embodiment of Halloween.
Yeah. So here's one thing. I think it's probably one of two things that really bugged me about the whole movie. So one thing was you can really tell when it's James Jude Courtney or Nick Castle under the mask because the casts that they made for the mask to fit their faces, obviously they're not the same body type. Nick Castle's older and he's kind of fat. You can tell which one's Nick Castle or which one's James Jude Courtney by the mask. And Nick Castle isn't in it nearly as much as James Jude Courtney, but you can really, really tell when it's him.
Yeah, and I mean, James Jude Courtney is way taller than Nick Castle as well, and you can really tell.
Yeah. See, like, it's I don't mind because it's fucking Nick Castle, and you can't deny him the part of Michael Myers. You can't do that. But his eyes were all squinty, and like you could, I don't know, you could just really, really tell when it was him, and I didn't like that. The other thing was when the bus crashes, we didn't see any of it. Like when the kid shoots the doctor, and he explains to the cop like Michael overtook the bus. Cool that you're telling us that, but let's fucking see it. Like, I wanted to see him take the bus over.
Right, exactly. Like in writing fiction or writing anything that tells a narrative, there's a hard and fast rule, and that rule is show it, don't tell it.
Yeah, like
right?
it was fine. I mean, the explanation wasn't even that extravagant. Like, you could have easily put that in the movie. And I assume just like with, this is a weird example, but with Rob Zombie's Halloween, the theatrical cut versus the director's cut, like it was drastically different.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
I assume, or even part 6 with the producer's cut or the theatrical cut, I assume that there's going to be a cut that is far superior than the theatrical.
Let me ask you this: do you think that the doctor actually caused the bus crash and not Michael?
So the only reason, okay, when I first watched it, I didn't at all. I assumed that it just happened the way it happened. But when the doctor is loading Michael on, the second time I watched this, I noticed when the doctor's loading him on, he has this look of like he already had it set up, and everything was rigged and set up for the bus to crash. So it kind of looked like he was like, oh, I don't know if I should do this, if I should go through with it. So I think at this point, after watching it the second time, I do think he caused it.
Sure. I think he did for a couple of reasons. Number one, when Will Patton's character finds him, right, and he says, "Did he escape?" Right, just the delivery of that
what's
dialogue.
What's his nationality,
is
by the way? Is he German?
He's Turkish.
Okay, so either way,
So
he's
it
like
could be his accent.
He's like James Bond's supervillain the whole movie.
Yeah. Well,
Did
and
he
he's kind of doing
escape?
this. Yeah, and he's kind of doing like this weird Dr. Loomis, like later on Dr. Loomis thing, right? Where he's like, talking and raspy voice and all that shit. And even Laurie says, "Oh, so you're the new Loomis?"
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Break.
I thought that was weird. One of the other reasons I think that he helped, now I just remembered, was when he was talking to Allison when she was in the back of the car. And she says he spoke, which was bullshit, but he's like, I've wanted him to speak for so long, and having him under this much stress is the best scenario he could be in to speak. So that right there would make you assume he wanted him to get out.
Well, and then also the doctor was like basically jerking off over seeing Michael in the wild, essentially.
Oh yeah,
treating him like a wild animal, right? He's been in captivity for 40 years. Now he wants to see what Michael Myers is capable of doing.
Well, he was treating him like a child. Like he was protecting a child. Like what are you doing? He's like, don't shoot, don't shoot. The sheriff's like, I'm going to fucking shoot this guy. He's an asshole. He's like, no, don't shoot him.
He's still property of the state, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, fuck off, dude. I would have blown his
right.
fucking brains out.
Dan, what do you think, man? Like, what's your hot take on this?
Oh, what on the doctor
Yeah.
caused the bus crash?
Yeah.
Dr. Cocksuck, what do you think about him?
Oh, I totally thought he was going to be Michael Myers for the rest of the fucking movie.
Oh, my
I'm
God.
like, that's it.
Okay, hold on. Let's talk about...
I'm like, when he turned around, he put on this mask. Michael Myers was clearly just like dead in the back, just 100%. I thought he was going to go around kill all these motherfuckers.
Well, here's the thing. Hold on, Dan. I don't want to... I'll let you finish. But the whole thing with... even when we were in the theater, someone we went with, I'm not going to give names, he turned to me and he's like, is he like Michael now? And I'm like, no. Like, he obviously... Yeah, I was like, no. No, that's the dumbest thing ever.
Also, what I want to know is how can a wounded man who's arm in a sling lift a grown-ass man and put him in the back of a fucking police car?
I said the same thing at the theater. And you know what? Like, not even just a grown-ass man. This is a 61-year-old, like, beefy dude.
How is he
Yeah.
beefy, though? Like, he's at Smith's Grove. The only outside they
Yeah, but
get
he's
is by the
standing
cinder
around.
block.
It's not like he's exercising.
Yeah, standing around.
Yeah, but meals for incarcerated people are all protein. So they're just building him up, and he was getting bigger and bigger all those years.
No, I mean, I'm sure Michael Myers probably has some natural muscle mass, right?
Yeah, I mean, genetics
but-
come into play too. You can't just assume
Sure.
he's going to be some little guy.
Right, for sure. But the point is, okay, so this doctor is obviously like, I don't know what, upper 60s, 70s, somewhere
I'd
around
say
there.
he's, like 65. I'd say. That
Sure.
range.
He's been shot, his arm is in a sling, and you expect us to believe that he can lift a man one-handed, put him into the back of a police vehicle sitting up, not just like laying him
Yeah.
down or scooting him in, but like getting him in there and sitting him in the upright position.
Yeah, he was sitting up, huh?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. The doctor was unnecessary the whole movie. I'm just gonna say it.
To me, the doctor was the worst part of that movie.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
that fucking plot twist with him and how they get Michael to Laurie, right? Because you'll notice that throughout this entire movie, only once does Michael lay eyes on Laurie through that mirror, but he doesn't go after her. He just fucking walks away. She shoots him, and he
She
keeps
pursues
walking.
him.
Exactly. He doesn't go after her. He doesn't even know she fucking exists until he is dropped off at her fucking house.
Yeah. And you know what? The only reason he even got to the house to begin with was because of Allison, because the doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, our theory was right. He's not going after Laurie. That's it. Like, there's no doubt about it in my mind. He was not after Laurie in the slightest. He just wanted to get out.
Exactly.
Or
right?
the doctor got him out, and he sprung on the opportunity to escape. That's all it was.
Probably, yeah.
I
But
didn't.
was he legitimately going after Laurie Strode?
No. No way. There's no way.
It's been 40, what, 6?
40 years.
Yeah, so, like, he probably doesn't even give two shits anymore.
I don't think he ever did, really.
Yeah, I think he picked in 1978 those 3 girls at random and decided to kill them.
Well, let's think about this, right? So the Mrs. Elrod shout out in the new movie, that middle-aged woman that he beats with a hammer, right? And then the lady he stabs in the neck with a knife with that unnecessary CGI, by the way. It was fucking ridiculous.
That was weak.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all. But let's think about this, right? So it would be the same thing for the old lady or the woman if she got away. You know, he would chase her for a certain amount of time
Sure.
unless he got incarcerated, which was the same case with Laurie. And I don't think he wasn't concerned with Laurie in the slightest. He went to Judith's grave. That's who he's concerned with, Judith.
Right, absolutely, because he was tracking the podcasters.
Yeah, and he brought them right back to the fucking gravestone. And you know what? Here's another thing about the podcasters, right? When he strangles the female one in the bathroom stall, the sheriff comes in and he looks down and they talk about the body. And me and Dan were talking about this one. Dan only saw it once, but we were talking about this after we watched it. And I'm convinced that the male podcaster didn't die because when they go in there, they don't look at him or show him in the slightest. So I'm going to assume that the sequel that they're now working on, unfortunately, he's going to be in it for sure. And I'm assuming because, you know, his obsession before was uncovering things about the case and getting Michael to talk to Lori. Now it's going to be about him obsessed with finding Michael and killing him.
It's an interesting thought. I mean,
I'd fucking
Michael.
hope not.
I mean, okay, so Michael beats this guy within an inch of his life, right? Bangs his head up
Yeah.
against the stall door and like a wall in this restroom, and you see him get thrown up against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
You see him like looking over at Michael, and then his eyes shut. So presumably two things. So either he has died of massive brain damage, which is very possible.
Yeah, because he beat the ever living fuck out of him.
Yeah, given how strong Michael Myers is in this movie, that is a possibility. Number two, he just has a very, very, very severe concussion and passed out, but you can still die from that.
Yeah.
So my hot take is he's probably dead, but you don't actually see him die on screen, which will bring me to another point later on.
Yeah, Nick doesn't do off-screen death.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
See, here's the
Yeah.
problem, right? Unless I see them dead after the fact, I don't believe the character's
Mhm.
dead.
Sure.
Because they didn't show him when the sheriff went in. They only looked at her.
Yep, exactly. So, touching back on the podcasters, I want to know definitively how the fuck they got the mask.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Okay,
he already
so-
said he's got a friend at the district attorney's
fuck
office.
off, it doesn't
at
matter.
the attorney general's office, a friend
Yeah,
at the attorney general's
Okay,
office.
let's-
That is not good enough. For
Okay,
me.
let's put
How
this in
did they get it?
perspective, right? Let's say this podcast, for instance, got huge and won awards like they said they did. The podcast is known. It's big like Joe Rogan's podcast. If I was like, oh,
I
hey,
didn't-
if your podcast is that big and it's won awards and whatever they said they've won, and you're like, oh, we're in Haddonfield, and I know a guy at the Attorney General's office, they're going to fucking know who did it and gave the mask away. There's no way that person would put up the risk. Also, they're not just handing shit out. That's not how that works.
Exactly. Thank you.
Like, I mean, I
Well,
don't-
then dude got murdered.
First of all, let's just say this too. The podcasters were a completely unnecessary part of the movie. We didn't need them either.
I didn't like them in that movie.
No, me neither. They were
Like even in the trailers, I'm like, why are they necessary?
they
Like,
were
why are
time
even
fillers. They
here?
were just trying to fill the gap between when Michael got to Lori. That's all they were.
Well, then they could have filled the gap with those fucking shitty ass transitions that they were doing fucking at the beginning of the goddamn
Well, again, yeah, I
movie.
think that's because there's gonna be a far better, superior extended cut. But there's
so they just cut the parts out of the movie, and that's why it had that shitty fucking transition.
well, I mean, there were a lot of
between scenes.
poor transitions, and I mean, we counted them. Well, there's like
Like
7.
four, it was 6.
Yeah,
It
there's
was
like
the
6 of
first
them. Like
6.
the editing was not great, and you know what? With a Blumhouse movie, they don't spend a ton of money, so I wouldn't expect like grade A editing. But
Well, the budget for this movie was only $10 million.
yeah, that's not a lot nowadays. So
And they've made that back, what, 9 times now?
oh
Just
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah, yeah.
one
They've
weekend?
well, it's what 91.8 million.
Yeah, it was like 91 something.
Yeah, so they've. I
Yeah,
mean, it's at
90.1.
least an 80% return, and it was only projected to make between 50 and 80 million. They've already surpassed that opening weekend. That's it. It's gonna go
Then
up
they
another.
could have turned around and just spent the extra amount of money, paid the dude an extra $2 more to fucking make sure those transitions.
No,
didn't look
whoever
like
they
shit.
had is no. That's not no.
All right. So, do you want to know what my biggest gripe about this movie is? And I don't want it to seem like we're just shitting all over this movie
Well, we'll
because
get
I
to the good stuff
genuinely do
afterwards.
like it. But the biggest thing that really made me throw my arms up in the what the fuck position was that dinner scene when Lori is busting down
Yeah.
and she says, and I quote, "I saw the shape."
Oh yeah.
No.
I was like, what?
No. Never in the entire franchise has Michael Myers ever been referred to as the shape.
Well,
on
you know what? Hold on.
screen.
I'm going to defend this a little bit. So when she's in the car, she sees the shape of a person walking towards her. So
Right,
maybe
and I think-
that's what it was?
But I think that part was in her head, right? Like I caught that too. It was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a
yeah. It
quick
was
cut.
definitely in her head because obviously Michael wasn't walking towards her car.
Right, because he was on the bus, right? She watched him
Yeah.
go away. But my point is here, the shape is not something that you would call Michael Myers in this movie reality,
No, no,
right?
no.
Because the shape
No,
is
he's
the
the
original
fucking boogeyman.
Thank you. You call him Michael. You call him the evil. You call him it. You call him the boogeyman.
Aubrey.
Whatever. Aubrey, right? Michael Aubrey. But you do not call him the Shape, because in that world, that term doesn't exist. Because that is the original thought that John Carpenter had for Michael Myers. That is the concept of character, concept of proof for Michael Myers.
Yeah,
Was
it
that
completely
shape didn't exist.
Yeah,
Myers came around.
it completely
Well-
breaks the
well,
third wall.
it does. And if David Gordon Green and Danny McBride and the other fucking screenwriter are such hardcore Halloween fans, they would have fucking known that.
And you
so
know what?
shame on them for doing that.
The last disappointing thing, actually, there's one more thing after this, but one of the last disappointing things I'm going to say that I hated, 80 drafts, and this is what they got. I'm not saying it's bad, but 80 drafts.
80 drafts for what I felt to be a super rushed movie. This movie went way too fucking fast.
Plus,
the
there were
suspense-
reshoots. Like, I want to know what you know. What I want to
yeah.
know what that.
I want to
first
know what they
ending
cut.
was. Yeah, because what are we supposed to take the word of 15 douchebags that saw the movie before everybody else?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, obviously there were scenes in the trailers that got cut, right? So this confrontation between Michael and Laurie, Michael.
Yeah, one of the
that whole
biggest parts of
thing.
the trailer. Like, what was that?
Yeah, this confrontation in Laurie's front yard, or him like appearing out of the doorway, or shit like that. A lot of the good scares that I feel should have happened in the film were revealed in the trailers, which
Yeah.
kind of pissed me off. But they worked on screen, which was great. But
Oh, my biggest gripe of this movie: where in the fuck they get off killing Vicky?
Yeah, that was-
she had to die though. Come on, man.
Yeah, she was she was the Linda or the Annie. She had to go.
Yeah, she was the Annie. But by the way, that whole exchange between
Well,
her
no,
and
that
that
little
little
boy
kid
was the
fucking
Annie.
gold.
Oh yeah, that little kid was the best part of the movie for like hands down.
Yes.
He's like, hold on, wait, I'm gonna go get help.
Yeah, he sees Michael. He's like,
Dude,
"Oh
don't go up
shit!"
there.
Runs away.
Right. Or like the whole thing about how Vicky told him that that she's gonna like tell his mom about his browser
Yeah,
history.
he's
And
like,
he's
"You
like,
better not."
Yeah, right. I mean, that part was gold.
So you know
I
what?
fucking loved
That
it.
really annoyed me. Like as I was watching the movie, or even as like towards the end, people were talking about how they tried to make it funny like a Marvel movie. It was just that one part. Like that was it.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah,
was
it
fine.
was just-
It wasn't an abundance of them trying to make it a comedy. It was fine. I mean, anybody that says it's funny, they're trying to be like a Marvel movie is wrong anyway, obviously, as we saw. See, again, it annoys me because we don't know what cut they showed at TIFF.
Right, exactly. And like aside from the one scene between Vicky and Julian, the little boy,
Yeah.
the rest of the humor in the movie is subjective. You can either pick up on the humor and think it's funny, or you can be like, okay,
Well, yeah,
whatever.
actually, for example, I don't know if you experienced anything like this, but when they offer her the $3,000, they offer Lori the money in the beginning. When she tells them to leave and holds her hand out, the first time I saw it, people laughed at that, but the second time they didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. Well, not the first time. No, the first time I saw it, people didn't laugh at that. But the second and third time, people did. Right? They found that scene to be funny.
Yeah.
But I mean, different strokes for different folks, right?
Well, I mean,
So-
she was being real as fuck though. She's like, you came into my house.
Yeah,
you
I
said
didn't
you're
think it
gonna
was.
give me
I didn't think it was funny
$3,000.
either time. I didn't
No, she's going to take a motherfucker's kneecaps.
like the laughter completely took me out of that whole scene.
Yeah. Another thing that I found to be kind of strange that people laughed at is like that whole exchange with Lori and Allison when Lori gives Allison the money and right, Allison's like, oh, I'll save it for college.
Go to
and Lori's
Mexico.
like, fuck college.
Yeah, fuck college. Yeah, and nobody laughed. No, the two times I saw it, nobody laughed at that.
See,
Well,
people laughed
no,
at it.
I laughed
I saw
at
it.
that.
At first, I thought it was funny. Like the first time I saw it, I thought that part was funny. I was like, yeah.
And then
Fuck
she
college.
said, go to Mexico. And I just shook my head because I lived in El Paso. I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't.
Well, you know what? You know what? Speaking of that scene, you know what really pissed me off about it?
Hmm.
Lori's like, Allison's like, could you imagine? And Lori's like, yeah, I could. Where's that fucking sequel when she's in Mexico and Michael attacks her there? Like, why did we have to do this whole thing?
Right.
Like, they're giving her like an in-between. Like, just do it. Get a new act. I mean, I'm not saying that. Obviously, Jamie Lee Curtis was like the best. She did the best performance in the movie, I think. But
Absolutely.
replacing her with a younger actress to play her wouldn't be a horrible thing, I don't think the movie would have done as well. No, it probably would have bombed. So no, never mind. That's a bad idea.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Didn't Lori go to Mexico?
Well, that's that's the thing. She was like, could you imagine? And Lori's like, yeah, I really could, because that means she was in Mexico at some point.
or she had been wanting to escape what was perceived to be her prison for the last 40 years,
Yeah, see,
which was that house.
That's
Right? So maybe that was
It wasn't her prison.
it was Michael's.
it was a trap.
Spoiler. It was a
Happy
trap.
Halloween.
You know what bugged
Yeah.
me? All right, here's another thing, right? Let's
That
just
whole fucking ending.
oh my god. Okay, hold on. We're gonna start from the beginning, okay? So we'll get to the good stuff after all this. We need to get the bad shit out of the way. They try to do the Michael fading in scene, but it's not like
With Lori, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
really
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, so the thing with Michael was he was moving forward. That's why it happened. With Lori, she was just standing still, and light came from literally nowhere and shined on her face. It was the cringiest moment of the entire movie. I could not believe they did it.
Yeah, I mean, it looked bad. It really did look bad.
And then they pulled the
if
whole
they had
Busta
her-
Rhyme treatment and Happy Halloween, Michael, and then stabs him. What are you doing?
Oh shit! and then I forgot the worst part, the absolute worst part of that movie. Grandmother.
Oh, I forgot.
and
Oh, it irritated me the whole movie.
Grandmother.
Grandmother? Who calls her grandmother?
in her
that?
fucking phone too. Fucking grandmother.
Oh my god, it was so annoying.
Hey, Hi, mother.
right.
Mother, have you spoken to grandmother?
Yeah,
Is
what-
grandmother coming to dinner?
What have we?
You know, Mike Pence calls his wife mother. I mean,
What a
how creepy
weirdo.
is that?
What a weirdo.
Yeah, well,
That's some
you're right.
Norman Bates shit.
yeah. All right, so let's get the elephant in the room out of the way and talk about the ending.
Okay.
So the house is not a cage so much as a trap, right? So over the last 40 years, Lori has booby trapped this house to be a trap for Michael Myers, right? In the event that he ever breaks out of Smith Grove and comes back.
Yep.
Spoiler alert, he does.
But not in the way you'd expect.
Yeah, exactly. Not in the way you expect. So they get him down in this basement after Lori blows off half of Michael's hand, which is interesting.
I love
Oh,
I love
oh.
that I love that part.
No, I like that part. I
Yeah.
liked it as well because
There was a
You
quote
need to-
with that though.
you need to see bodily injury to the killer, though. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a rule of slasher movies that's hard and fast. You need to see them hurt.
Right. No, I get that. But she was clearing the house room by room with a fucking Remington rifle.
That's after she shot Michael and dropped
with the
gun.
shotgun.
She dropped it.
No, that
Yeah,
was the
yeah,
that was
no,
the
that came
rifle,
later.
no?
No,
No.
that came later.
No, yeah.
Yeah, so after she got Ray and no,
No, Ray's already dead at this point.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
After she
I
got
know
Allison
jujitsu.
downstairs.
I
Yeah.
can protect my family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she got Karen down in the basement. She went upstairs to go lock the door. She sees Michael outside. Michael busts through the door, and she manages to get the shotgun
Yeah,
in
you're right,
position.
because that was the whole door scene.
Yep.
like,
And then
Yeah.
when she goes down, the Remington's just laying on a table.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
grabs it instead of the fucking.
Instead of going back for the shotgun or going back for the
sawed-off
knife, right?
shotgun,
Homage
which
to
is
that.
perfect for clearing a fucking house.
So here's my biggest
Right.
problem, right, with the bedroom clearing where she would set the trap doors down after she cleared her room.
Mhm.
There's fucking windows in every single room. What
Right?
what is she gonna do? She's gonna light the house on fire? He'll fucking leave. What are you doing?
No. So the cages, like whenever she'd hit that and the bars come down, it's just so that Michael can't wander
It's
into
not
that room.
that's not only what it's for. It's if he's in there and he hasn't come out to show himself, that's also what it's for. Also,
I'd expect that if there were like bars on the windows.
if she was in
which-
the room and he attacked her, she'd run out and probably press it again and set the house on fire anyway. So it defeats the whole purpose.
Right. I mean, so also 40 years booby trapping your fucking house. You don't put burglar bars on your fucking window. Come
Yeah,
on, Lori.
that's what I'm
Come
talking
on,
about. That's
Lori.
that's what exactly what I'm saying. Michael would leave through the window if she. I don't know. You know.
Well,
they-
not just that, but he'd break into the house through a window anyway.
You know what? I'm
and
just
he
gonna.
would
s-
try
I'm
to-
just gonna say 80 drafts is bullshit. There's no way. There are so many plot holes, and we're just talking about it right now, after seeing it 2 times, 3 times, 1 time each. Like it's not like we have a Blu-ray and we've watched it 100 times.
Right, exactly. So I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of deleted scenes
Yeah.
on
fucking
Blu-ray
hope
release.
so.
I hope so too. But okay, so all right, so Lori has cleared the house, right? She's been attacked by Michael. Michael pushes her off this balcony, a la the first one, so the roles are reversed, right?
And you know
Yeah, I
what?
picked up.
That shot where he's looking down, Allison comes in, he looks away. That was one of my favorite shots of the whole movie. From the ground up,
Absolutely.
looking at the balcony, it was great.
Yeah, it was a beautiful shot, and I like how they reversed it. So instead of Michael disappearing, it's Lori disappearing,
Mhm.
right? So the hunted has now become the hunter in that scene. But getting to like the true ending when they've got Michael trapped in the basement and they set it on fire. Here's the part that really bugs me, and here's the part that leads me to believe that there is in fact going to be a sequel. And Nick, you will know exactly what I'm talking about because you never see him die.
Yeah, exactly. And you know
never
what?
see him burn.
Here's another thing, right? Right after the house sets on fire, the last shot you see of him is looking up after the explosion.
Yeah.
Then there's another shot of the basement in the corner where the guns are, and it shows where Michael would be standing in pretty much the whole room, and he's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, he's not on the floor, not burning in a corner, not running around or walking
Yeah.
around on fire. He's just not there.
And then post credits, you hear the.
Yep.
The breathing, his breathing, right?
I can't wait to see what kind of resurrection scenario they give us for how he escaped.
I don't know, man. I mean, if it were
Sewers.
me,
He got out through the
Sewers.
sewers. He's eating
oh
rat.
no. If it were me, and dude, if I was Jason Blum, as much as I would want to make a sequel to this,
Don't.
I wouldn't.
They
Because
have to.
it
They
would-
have to.
Well, they can, but I wouldn't because it would be doing. I mean, it'd be a giant fuck you to the fans, right?
It'd be another Halloween 4 at this point.
Listen,
Yeah.
I love Blumhouse as much as the next guy, okay? But if there's one person out of everyone there that doesn't care about the fans more than the money, it's Jason Blum.
Yeah, you think so?
I think, well, it's his company. He gains from it the most. And I'm not saying anything against Jason Blum. Like, this is just a fact. Like, I don't know. Like, I'd take Ryan Turek or not Malik Akkad. He can go fuck himself. But whoever, Bill, whatever, the other guy that produced the movie, like, I'm sure they care a lot more about it than someone like Jason Blum.
Oh, I'm sure Ryan Turek cares so much about this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been, producing Halloween content forever, like homebrew Halloween content, talked about it forever and ever and ever and ever. And I'm sure being able to be an associate producer on this movie was like a once in a lifetime thing. So I have no doubt that Ryan Turek cares, and I have no doubt that Jason Blum cares. But at the same time, after this movie comes out, this is going to set a precedent, and all anybody is going to see for a long time is dollar signs. And that to me is really shitty because of the way that this movie ended. It was a crappy ending, but I don't see how they can retcon this ending in a way to make a sequel work.
So you know what? I'll back up on what I said a little bit about Jason Blum. By the way, Ryan Turek liked my tweet yesterday, and I was really pumped about that.
Nice.
But a good comparison, I just thought about it a little bit. A good comparison I'd make is like Jason Blum to Bob Shea, where Bob Shea wasn't a horror fan. Jason Blum is definitely a horror fan. That's what they do. So he definitely cares about the genre more than Bob Shea does, for instance. The Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th. Nightmare on Elm Street got pretty wacky, so.
Yeah, after the third Nightmare, it was
I do a
slapstick.
horror movie, guys. I'll do it.
You'll do it?
Yeah, it'll be nothing but cliches.
Yeah, it'll be terrible. Dude, I would never
Wanna
trust
call-
you with a movie.
We'll call it
Star.
Random Blood.
Right, starring Buster Rhymes. But I'll tell you this now.
Or
If
Michael
anybody
Jai
at
White.
Blumhouse,
I mean, you don't know.
Yeah, or Michael Jai White. Yeah, I mean, you could get fucking Steve Urkel for all I care. Who knows?
Jaleel?
Jaleel White,
Jaleel
move on.
White.
Yeah.
Right. But I will tell you this now. If anybody, even remotely associated with the production of this movie, is listening to this podcast, the number one thing that you need to do is fucking listen to your fans. Hell,
Yeah.
come to us. We'll write the next Halloween movie.
Well,
Why? Because we pay attention to this shit.
The death and demise of most production companies for anything, whether it be video games, movies, anything, TV, is because they go the exact opposite direction of what the fans want.
I've been saying it for years. These people, in Hollywood need to open their fucking ears and listen. listen to what the fans are saying, listen to what the fans want. You may not give them what they want, but at least keep an open mind and listen.
See, but the weird thing for this movie is I don't even know what I wanted. I just wanted something that wasn't ridiculous like the other
yeah.
sequels.
Well, I'm in the same boat, right? Like, I mean, I went in with high expectations, but I don't know what I was expecting, right? I just know what I saw in the trailer and trailers, and I know, you know, a leaked synopsis, but I don't know. I didn't know what this was going to be.
By the way, if you saw our first Open Grave news, our viewer was 100% legit, and we that's another thing I knew, and you did too, Blake. We knew everything going into it.
Yeah, that's true.
I
didn't want to believe it.
At you in the damn theater.
Well, it's because a person we were with kept asking me questions and I was answering. But
well, you should have told him shut the fuck up and watch the movie.
I did 100 times.
Well, next time we go to the movie and that person's there, I'll punch him.
Fine.
Tell him shut the fuck up, watch the movie.
Go for it. I don't care. But yeah, even with knowing literally every single death and all the plot twists and the ending, because again we had that viewer come forward and give us information. I think the way he worded the ending for us was not as good as the way it played out. And I'm not saying the ending was good, but it definitely wasn't as disappointing as I thought it was going to be, going by what he told us.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I think we've had enough negative shit talking about this movie.
Yeah.
Let's get into what we actually liked about this movie.
The mask, number one.
Yes.
I thought, I mean, we talked about it before. I'm not going to bring it up again, but the mask changes. But I thought it is the best mask since 6, probably.
Well, a lot of love went into making that mask, too.
Yeah, I think they were really careful with this one. And I'm pretty sure, Blake, I don't know if you told me this, but it was the same mold as 1978's or...
That's correct. Yep, they used so they took a mold of it was the original Shatner mold that they were able to get their hands on to mold this mask and then age it to what, you know, not literally what a latex mask of 4 years is going to look like, but you know what the mask should look like.
See, what really impressed me about it was it's the same mold, but it's a totally different mask of its own.
Correct. Yeah, it has a completely look and life of its own.
Yeah, even the structure of it, like you could never tell that it was the exact same mask.
Mm-hmm.
I
think a lot of that has to do with the aging, but yeah, you are correct.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was little things like, obviously they weren't molding the masks to the actors' faces back then, so that made a huge change. But I think, you know, with the Halloween 4 mask, for instance, like it didn't matter what the lighting was; it looked exactly the same every single time.
Yeah.
But with this one, they really experimented with the lighting, like when he smashed the doctor's head in with his boot with the red lighting, it really like emphasized on the features of the mask.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That was the best part in that movie, by the way.
I loved it.
Yeah, I really liked that the doctor got a pretty gruesome death. Just
I mean, that
because
should
I
have
feel
happened.
that he was one of the worst
breakout.
parts of the movie.
Yeah, that probably should have happened during the breakout. But
yeah.
What was your favorite part about it, Blake?
Well, a couple things. So number one, Jamie Lee Curtis was amazing in this movie.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt again, but
it's okay.
Here's the huge difference between this movie and H2O. H2O, she was just her. She was acting, and it wasn't a bad performance, but she wasn't trying to be Laurie. In this one, she was definitely trying to be Laurie, and that's who she was.
Absolutely. There are a couple things that really hit that home, like when they were talking about Allison being in the honor society, right? There's this line that Laurie delivers where she like drops her guard and she's like, well, I was in the honor society.
Yep, when they're at
right
dinner.
there's the nerd Laurie that you saw 40 years ago right there. There's the sarcastic kid Laurie that you saw 40 years ago right there, right? And then she immediately snaps back up.
Yeah, and that was pretty much
Survivor
the
mode.
only like 3 seconds of it we saw the entire movie. Besides when she was vulnerable with like Karen or Allison.
Yeah, for sure. So another thing that I really loved about this movie was John Carpenter's new score.
Ooh, baby.
Oh my God. I bought it on iTunes, by the way, so I've been listening to it a lot. I mean, even though the songs are short, it's fucking amazing.
Well, Halloween Triumph is like 8 minutes long. That's a really long one.
yeah, Halloween Triumphant's really long because it's like a mashup of different themes,
Mm.
right? But I mean, like, if you go and listen to the Shape Stocks Allison, for example, holy shit, that is great. That
Yeah,
is a great piece of music. Um, I mean, the new score, the 2018 score, just the main theme is great. It's good to hear an updated Laurie's theme, things like that. The other thing that I thought was really great, and it kind of made me smile to see all this, were the homages to the other movies.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, like, whether it be a stuffed horse named Tate, right? So that's an H2O reference, or the silver shamrock masks.
Yep.
This movie is peppered with references to the other sequels that now don't exist.
I'd say the most obvious was the Mrs. Elrod one.
Oh, absolutely.
Which was great. I love how they didn't drag it on. They really got it out of the way. It was in and it was out, and they didn't drag it on.
Yeah, exactly. And then there were lines that had been used in previous movies too. Like, I want to say it was the doctor who said something, that's the idea. That was the same line that Dr. Loomis used in the first movie when the nurse is
it was
him.
Laurie.
Okay, cool. Thank you. But I mean, that's the line that Loomis used when the nurse was chiding him about using Thorazine.
Mm-hmm.
He'll barely be able to sit up. That's the idea.
Yeah. So that was Laurie said that when she was talking to the podcasters when they were talking. She's like, they're moving him. She's like, yep, tomorrow at 7.
Yeah, right. Like, she knew the schedule.
See, and you know what? That's kind of something else that I don't know if it was a strategic move from the creators of this movie, but before it came out, they were telling us that she was this like obsessed with calling Smith's Grove and calling the police and stuff like that. And then she said they said that Laurie doesn't know who Allison's father is, but she obviously does because she's twice divorced. She said it. So, like, I don't know what
You
the
mean
deal.
Karen?
Karen? No, I thought Laurie said she was twice divorced.
Well, she is, but Karen is the daughter.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Karen. Yeah. So, I mean, what were they trying to do? Like, throw us off? I guess I don't know.
Maybe. I think it was just a lot of exposition, right? A lot of time filler there with them. Not to go back to like what we hate about the movie, I just want to touch on this because it really bothered me, was that sheriff character. Not Will Patton, but the character with the cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Like, did he even need to be in this goddamn movie at all?
He was in it for, what, 15 seconds?
And he was like the cockiest asshole, right? He's like, oh, this guy's an asset. No, he's a liability. Yeah,
well,
whatever.
Again,
listen to find Michael.
I bet you there's a deleted scene where Michael kills him. I bet you.
Probably. I would hope so. I'd like to see his character die.
Yeah, I didn't really like many of the characters except for the ones that mattered. The sheriff, he was not a good character.
Well, and all the male characters in this movie were weak.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Ray was about as useless as a fart in the wind.
Well, the politics really got involved with that too. They were trying to make a female lead. Like, they were really trying to make it female lead.
And that's okay.
Yeah, which is fine, but you got to have someone put up a fight besides Laurie.
Oh yeah, when David was going to go run up the stairs, and then that was it. You don't see nothing until he's like stapled to the wall.
Yeah, exactly. He killed off screen.
No fight. Yeah.
Yeah, and with the Bob homage kill where he's pinned to the wall.
I think they're looking at it from, again, a financial strategy standpoint where, we have this Blu-ray and it's got all these bonus features and deleted scenes for scenes that they didn't even need to get rid of in the first place. So like with Dave or who else died off camera? The two mechanics. Well, the one mechanic, because you can see Michael in the background when the podcaster's walking through.
Beating him to death.
Yeah, which is a great background thing to do. I didn't notice it the first time either.
Yeah, I didn't notice it either, but I was busy fucking tacos, so.
Yeah, I saw it like right at the last second. I was like, wait, what the fuck was that? Let me ask you about that whole scene, though. So, again, that scene was kind of an homage to where Michael drives by Loomis in the first movie. He doesn't see him, right? The Bronco drives up, podcaster doesn't see him. Of course, he wouldn't know that it was Michael.
And then not only that, but he walks right by them as he's filling up gas.
Absolutely. Now, that lady that was in that Jesus van, she does this thing with her eyes where she like looks over and then looks back at him. Do you think she knew what was there?
I think that Michael stopped and looked at the podcaster a bit, and that's what she was looking at.
You don't think she was trying to like warn him at all?
No, I don't see why she would have any reason to think that that was suspicious. Nobody knew about the breakout
okay.
yet, did they?
I don't know. I think so.
I mean,
I'm not sure though.
hypothetically, let's say they knew about the breakout. I think maybe she was like, what the fuck's that over there?
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. What other good things did you like, Nick or Dan?
Vicky, man.
That's it?
Pretty much. I was bummed once they killed her off. I thought the exploding house was cool. Just set up all those gas lines and got that motherfucker to parentheses fry. That was nifty too.
Yeah, I like the gas booby traps. I thought that was pretty cool.
I mean, they could have just shot him in the face.
They could have, and
He
I'm
was just
surprised-
standing right
I'm
there.
pretty sure that's what Lori was going to do with the Remington.
Well, I mean, when he was
Michael
locked up in
wouldn't have
the
been
trap, he was literally just standing there looking up. They could have blasted him one in the face.
Yeah.
It's true. One other thing that I really liked about this was the continuity of character, particularly in Michael. How he has a scar on his neck or how he has a bad eye.
Well, actually,
And-
that's what I was going to say. My favorite part of this movie, I'd have to say, was unlike 1978 where they full-fledged showed his face, it was little bits and pieces where they showed the eye, like when he was getting transported, or,
Mhm.
you know, they don't show his face at all when he's at the gravesite, which doesn't make any sense because that means he can't see. There's a fucking branch in his face. But
his good eye is the one that he was peering around the.
oh, okay,
Whatever.
yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
notice that. But it was things like that where they were really trying to get the point across that he had gray hair, he was old.
Yep, he would be what 61.
Yep.
Yep.
His 61st birthday was 3 days ago.
Hey, all right. Happy birthday, Michael. But yeah, so like the continuity of character, I always love shit like that. Take like Friday the 13th Part 7, for example. That makeup, it shows every bit of battle
Mhm.
damage Jason Voorhees has ever had, and I thought that was brilliant. And then with this, you see the damage that Michael had done to him 40 years ago. You know, the scar on his neck from when Laurie stabbed him in the neck with the knitting needle.
I just realized I never looked for that scar on his neck the entire time.
It's there. I had to go back and look at a still shot online because the scene where you would be able to see it goes by so fast that you can't catch it. And like James Jude Courtney's neck is all wrinkly and stuff.
Mhm.
So it's kind of hard to see, but it is there, which is really cool. And then the dead eye, you know, that Laurie puts out with the coat hanger, you know, shit like that. I thought that was really cool. And that was a good way to keep true to the character. I thought it was just a really good, smart move by the director and everybody involved.
So Blake, I don't know if you were keeping track of the Halloween 40 Twitter page, but they kept releasing videos of behind the scenes stuff, and like there was this one where it was Jamie Lee Curtis and Jason Blum talking about certain scenes in the movie, and there's the one scene where Michael's hiding behind the mannequins. That room is an exact replica of the room that Michael got shot in off the balcony.
I thought so. I didn't want to assume, but I was looking at that room and I was like, that balcony looks really familiar.
Yep, and then Ray's in the closet right across from the balcony. That's the closet that Michael broke into, and that's where he got stabbed in the neck and then in the gut with the knife.
Nice.
I thought that was great. I thought that was awesome how I kind of to a point think that the tributes were a little too much at some points because I was really noticing them when they happened.
Happy Halloween, Michael.
I mean, I can't help but think that was a Busta Rhymes tribute. I can't help
It
it.
was, but they didn't want to acknowledge that movie. So they're just like,
And I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah, me too, because it's horrendous.
that's okay. I knew what they did.
You know, I have it on DVD and Blu-ray. It pains me that that's even the case. I can't believe I have
Then
2 copies of this movie.
So one other thing that I kind of wanted to touch base on is I heard a lot of people talking about Michael Myers or The Shape being too strong in this movie. Oh my God, he's so strong. He's able to do all these things, whatever it is that he does, right? Smashes the doctor's head with
Yeah.
his boot.
He ripped that island out of the ground.
See, that's the
Right.
only one I will say was kind of ridiculous.
That was, and I think to me that was an homage to Rob Zombie's Halloween.
I
where
don't give
you
a
get-
fuck about Rob Zombie's.
Well, neither do I, but that is something that would have been in that movie. Just the
Yeah,
sheer
for
massive show
example,
of
the
strength.
car flip.
Yeah, exactly. But the point I'm going with here is that the strength that Michael Myers exhibits in this movie is the exact same strength that he exhibits in the first movie. So in the original Halloween, he's able to pick up a full-grown German Shepherd and strangle it with his bare hands. A full-grown German Shepherd is not a light dog. I mean,
No.
granted, they're not, hundreds and hundreds of pounds, but they're heavy, very heavy. He's also able to muscle a solid stone tombstone around, even though you don't see it, but he has to get it from point A to point B.
Mhm.
And then the
Because
other,
he's a ninja.
because he is a ninja, yes.
Well, I
And the
mean,
other-
point A from point B, he could have loaded it into the station wagon.
Well, probably, but he still had to pick it up out of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
ground, right? And then the other example I would like to point out is that he is able to pick up Bob with one hand and hoist him in the air and then pin him to a wall with a knife. Granted, Bob's back was already up against the wall, so all Michael had to do was pick him up. But the feats of strength that Michael is doing in this movie aren't anything that we haven't seen before or anything that's out of his character.
Yeah, no.
Whether it's breaking a dude's skull under his heel or snapping a little kid's neck in a Bronco.
Well, you know what? I think people are underestimating the weight of a work boot. It definitely helps
Sure.
with smashing his head in.
But Nick, millennials don't wear work boots.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So what else? What else, guys? What else do we want to talk about here?
I don't know. I feel like we've talked about a lot. Who have
I
we not
feel
talked
bad
about?
because we really shat on the movie at the beginning.
Yeah,
of
we
it.
did for 30 minutes. But 30 minutes of it, we did talk about positive things.
That's true. And I don't want anybody that's listening to really think that, any of us truly hated the movie, because I don't.
No,
I don't
didn't
think
hate
Nick
it at
does,
all.
and I don't think Dan does either.
No, it's above a 5. So I mean,
Sure.
I'd watch it again, just not so soon.
Yeah, I mean, this is the truest sequel you will ever get to any Halloween movie, and it is the most solid sequel outside of the original second one. Would I recommend that people go see it? Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, even if we've been talking about the negative stuff, just go see it for yourself.
Don't be too hyped over this movie. It's just a movie, but it's a honest to goodness love letter to the franchise is
Absolutely.
what I think
That's
it
a
was.
great
Yes.
way to go about it.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. All right, everybody. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed hearing us talk about David Gordon Green's Halloween 2018. Just as a reminder, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at HorrorSpot for Instagram, and then at horror_speaks on Twitter, or you could just type in HorrorSpot. You can find us that way too. Stay tuned for our next episode. It's going to be another episode of Open Graves News. Yeah, and then after that, who knows? But we'll be coming at you here pretty soon. Again, I'm Blake,
And I'm Nick.
And I'm Dan.
and this has been the Horror Spot Podcast. Take it easy.